Good day everyone. By the way, I am Merlin T. Variation, a second-year college BS Criminology 2 student at Misamis Oriental Institute of Science and Technology. So for today's video, I'm going to discuss the chapter 1 of forensics, which is photography, definition, historical background, and principles. So first is Chapter 1, Definition of Terms. So, photography. The art or practice of taking and processing photographs. The word photography literally means drawing with light, so which means derives from Greek photo, meaning light, and graph, meaning to draw. So, next is modern definition. So, modern photography encompasses trends in the medium from the early 90s through to the 1960s. So, the move from early photography to modern photography by a departure from language and constraints of traditional art, such as painting, and this change in attitude was mirrored by changes in practice. So next is technical legal definition. So, it's legal to photograph or videotape anything and anyone or any public property within a reasonable community standard, which properly belongs to an art in the construction of contracts. It is a generally rule and technical words are to be taken according to their approved and known use in trade in which the contract is entered into or to which it relates, unless they have manifestly been understood in another sense by the parties. So next is police photograph. So the definition of police photograph is an art or science which deals with the study of the principles of photography, the preparation of photographic evidence, and its application to police work. Next is forensics photography. So the definition of forensics photography includes methods from photographing the scenes of crimes, searches, investigatory, experimentation, living persons, corpse, documents, weapons used in crimes, traces of substances, and similar evidence. So, it makes use of both recording and investigate techniques. So, forensics photography, also referred to as crime scene photography, is an activity that records the initial appearance of the crime scene and physical evidence in order to provide a permanent record for the courts. Next is historical evolution of forensics photography. So according to historical evolution forensics photography, when a photographer of a document was presented and allowed as courtroom evidence in 1851, photography as a forensics tool was boomed and soon became a boon to cases of identification and scene analysis. So here are the basic components of photography. So first is lights. So light is the most fundamental element that all photographs need because it illuminates the scene or subject, whether it be natural or artificial light, and quality and direction of light. So what is importance of light in photography? So light helps to create a particular mood within the photograph and can bring emphasis to key elements within a frame. Likewise, light can help create deep and accentuate and textures in an image by creating a mix of highlights and shadows. So next is equipment. The portable camera obscura was used by artists or painters to get accurate perspective of natural scene of their subjects. And the last is chemicals. So what chemicals were used in photography? So photographic film and paper the, that are often used are chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Although bromine is the most common, the silver grains are I mean silver ions can and the last is chemicals. So the light sensitivity of silver nitrate and silver chloride solution was discovered and investigated into mass with yawa. Next is through photography. 3D models are widely used in actual forensic scenes. They can give more information than just 2D photos or 2D evidence, such as bite marks. So, in 1839, is generally known as the birth year of photography, William Henry Fox Talbot explained a process he had invented, calotype, at the Royal Society of London. So what is calotype? So calotype, also called talbotype, early photographic technique invented by William Henry Fox Talbot of Great Britain in the 1830s. In this technique, a sheet of paper coated with silver chloride was exposed to light in a camera obscura. Those areas hit by light become dark in tone, yielding a negative image. So, in 1848, Abel Napsi-Decent or Victor introduced a process of negative on glass using albumin egg white as medium. Binding medium. So, in 1850, Louis Desire Blancart, 1850, Louis Desire Blancart Pivard introduced a printing paper coated with albumin to achieve a glossy surface. So, 1851, Frederick Scott Archer published a wheat plate process when collodion, a viscose liquid that dries to a taut, flexible, and transparent film replaces albumin. 1885, gelatin emulsion printing paper was commercially introduced based film in 1889. During this time, the camera were crude, the lens could not form a true image, and the sensitive materials required long exposure and could not reproduce colors in shades of gray. It was in 1857-76 when John F. W. Herschel coined the word photography. 1861, James Clerk Maxwell researched on colors during an 1861 Royal Institution lecture on color theory. Maxwell presented the world's first demonstration of colors photography by this principle of three-color analysis and synthesis. So, 1890, fold-corrected lenses were introduced. So 1906, a plate was placed on the market that could reproduce all colors in equivalent shades of gray. So 1907, Lumeri color process was introduced. A panchromatic film was used but which blue, green, and red filter. So 1940, U.S. Eastman Kodak made a color subtractive process called Kodachrome. So in 1935, color process came out together with electronic flash. So in 1947, Edwin H. Land introduced Polaroid, the one-step photography. So in 1960, laser was invented, making possible holograms or three-dimensional pictures. In 1988, the arrival of true digital camera. So, a digital camera is a camera that captures photographs in digital memory. Most cameras produced today are digital, largely replacing those that capture image on photographic film, while there are still dedicated digital cameras. Many more cameras are now incorporated into mobile devices like smartphones, which can, among many others purposes, use their cameras to initiative live video, telephony, and directly edit and upload image to others. So number 2 is high-end, high-definition or dedicated cameras are still commonly used by professionals and those who desire to take higher quality photographs. So next is criminal applications. Definition of criminal applications. So the strength of forensics application is their ability to recover deleted files in their entirety or at least the artifact that proves that files existed. Forensics application can identify the deleted files that still exist or display the artifact that proved they once did exist. So in 1854, an Englishman, Mandox, developed a dry plate photography, eclipsing the daguerreotype plate on tin methods. This made a practical the photography of inmates for prison records. 1859. In the United States, one of the earliest applied forensic science was in photography. It was used to demonstrate evidence in California case in large photographs or signature were presented in court. Case involving forgery. So next is 1864. Odell Birch first advocates the use of photography for the identification of criminals and the documents of evidence and the crime scene. So next is 1982, Alphonse Bertillon, who initiated anthropometric measurements for personal identification, was also involved in various means of documentation by photography, which developed the world's earliest crime. Next is 1902. Dr. R.A. Reis, a German scientist trained in chemistry and physics of Lausanne University in Switzerland. He contributed heavily to the use of photography and forensic science and established the world's earliest crime laboratory. That service and academic community and the Swiss police. So in so in 1910, Victor Balthazar developed a method of photographic comparison of bullets and cartridge cases, which act as any early foundation of the field of ballistics. So next is legal foundation of forensics evidence. Definition of legal foundation of forensics evidence is the role of the criminalist is to analyze, compare, identify, and interpret physical evidence in the crime lab. These crime labs or forensics labs have two primary functions: identifying evidence and linking the suspect, victim, and crime scene to physical evidence. So for black and white photographs, in 1859, the daguerreotype was used in several cases. Lewis, United States 23 Howard 515 to decide on the authenticity of photographs and comparing signature. Next is 1874. In a criminal case introducing photograph as identification evidence under Zook vs. Commonwealth 76 PA 340, next is for colors photographs. 1943 civil litigations Green v. City and County of Denver, colors 390142, involving color photography of spoiled meat in violation of a health ordinance prohibiting the sale of meat to the public. So next is 1960. In criminal case, State vs. Conte Com, showing the graphic wound of the victim. The next is criminology education. So criminology is the interdisciplinary study of crime as both an individual and social phenomenon, with research on the origins and forms of crime, its causes and consequences, and social and governmental reactions to it. So, get a bachelor's degree. It is initial to get at least an undergraduate education if you want to become a criminologist. Some college and universities have. So in 1902, Dr. R.A. Reis, professor at the University of Lausanne, Switzerland, set up one of the first academic curriculum in forensic science. His forensics photography department grew into Lausanne Institute of Police Science. So in 1950, August Bulmer, Chief of Police of Bickerley California established the School of Criminology. The School of Criminology at the University of California. Berkeley Fulkirk, president over the major of criminalistic within the school. So in 1954, the Philippines, the school which pointed criminology at the 641 cells Saint Santa Cruz, Manila. And the last is the principles of photography. The definition of the principles of photography. The 7 principles of art and design in photography is balance, rhyme, pattern, emphasis, contrast, unity, and movement form the foundation of visual art. Using the 7 principles allows you to take greater control of your photographic practice. They will lead to better photos and more photographic opportunities. So the principles of photography. Different authors of photography books have different approach in explaining the principles of photography. But to our mind, the one expounded by attorney Avelino Aquino in his book, Police Photography, Its Principles and Practice is the best articulate. So, photograph, also known as a photo, is an image created by light falling on a photosensitive surface, usually photographic film or an electronic image sensor, such as a CCD or a SMOS chip. Most photographs are created using smartphone camera, which use a lens to focus the scene, visible wavelengths of lights into our production of what the human eye would see. So the process and practice of creating such image is called photography. So, lights. Lights, we focus a great deal of our attention on the light in photographs. So the absence of light is often overlooked. Shadows can help direct the eye to a specific point and helps to create the composition. They can also be used to add hint of drama or interest to a photo, and of course, they can emphasize the light, drawing attention to highlights in that image. So, having both present in a photo creates balance. So, deciding how to use this element is ultimately up the photographer. Understanding elements of design and how they complement each other can help the photographer set intentions for a photo and create stunning work.
Importance of still photography at scene of crime forensics. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and it is especially true in crime scene photography. So photography is the basis of all crime scenes and is carried out on priority. So photographs and crime sketches are the most effective and simplest way to represent a crime scene by the investigating officer. They are most useful in supplying significant bits and pieces with exact measurement of the site and evidence where the crime has occurred. The purpose of crime scene photography is to provide a true and accurate record of the crime scene and physical evidence presented by recording the original scene and related areas. No matter how well an investigator can verbally describe a crime scene, so photographs can tell the same story better and more easily as it frees time and records the evidence. So forensics photography is an integral part or trial. and the judgment often is based upon crime scene photographs to prove prima facie evidence. Photography of everything from landscape to historical event has presented and illustrated history from the past 200 years. When a photograph of foreign document was presented and allowed as a courtroom evidence in 1851, photography as a forensics investigative tool was born and soon became a bone to cases of identification and scene analysis.